City Life. Coming up today on the program, we talk gardening with Rachel Vogan. Heather from Rolleston Vets is in, and we catch up with Mark Thomas from the New Zealand Fire Service. But first, something a little different on City Life. Yesterday, we were invited to meet the Dalai Lama, who was visiting Christchurch. Your Holiness, welcome to Christchurch. My name's Kaneta Knight. I'm from CTV. Just wanting to know what your key messages are for the people of Christchurch.
Two things. Number one commitment is promotion of human value. The second, promotion of religious harmony. These two things. The first commitment on the level of human being. I am one of the nearly 7 billion human beings. I am one of them. So, like you, we have to think the well-being of humanity. Now, today's reality, every continent heavily interdependent. So, therefore, we have to think. We have to sort of develop sense of concern of well-being of other part of the world, because this is our home. We are part of that world. So with that sort of conviction, I always share how to develop happy human being, happy human family, and happy society, and ultimately happy world. Government, you see, cannot do that. I feel change of the society must start from individual, from family level. That's my fundamental belief. So each individual should sort of carry sort of some, I think, realistic approach, realistic thinking. Here, the too much materialistic sort of view. There's no guarantee to bring inner peace or peaceful family. I think many people, may have the experience when they are economically not that sort of rich, then maybe more genuine friendship, more trust, then become more richer, more money. There's sometimes sense of competition. Then eventually some kind of jealousy, some kind of distrust may happen. So then genuine human value, trust, genuine friendship, no longer there. So therefore, I think our too much sort of emphasis only material value, big house, big car, and some other sort of modern equipment. Of course, we need these material facility, but I think we should know there is limitation. These material value, even you can be billionaire, but still, I noticed very unhappy person. Money fail, inner peace. So therefore, while we sort of we have interest about material development, meantime, there is no point to neglect about our inner value. Inner value, not necessarily religious belief, but from our birth, the way our lives start, we received maximum affection from our mother. So that experience really deeply absorbed in our blood, in our body cell, brain cell. So person who surrounded more affectionate sort of community or family, much happier. mentally much healthier. Person, no matter how sort of material facility they are, but lack of human affection, and deep inside, core, sense of insecurity, more anxiety. So, I usually call secular way promote these inner value. Of course, anyone who have religious faith, very good. You can strengthening these inner value with Buddhist, with the religious sort of devotion or faith. Good. A person who have not much interest about sort of religious sort of faith, then without touching religion, you can develop these things. That I usually call secular way of approach, these secular ethics. Then second, my commitment is religious harmony. That now my commitment as a Buddhist monk, last more than 50 years, I notice you see many sort of religious tradition. In philosophical field, there's differences. There's big differences. But the real sort of teaching is practice of compassion, practice of love, forgiveness. Same. So, therefore, all major religious tradition, you see, can live harmoniously on the basis of mutual admiration, mutual respect, mutual appreciation.
Why was it important for you to visit Christchurch after the earthquake?
I want to share some of your sort of sadness due to natural disaster. Since many New Zealanders, we become close friends. And people in this country always showing genuine sense of concern and sympathy. So it is my duty when you face some tragedy and lost some people and a lot of sort of damage. So as a friend, it's my duty come share with your sadness. So now, this afternoon, we are going to pray. We have some sort of prayer meeting. So already, sort of sad things happen. Only from our side, the only thing we can do is pray. So that's the main purpose. Then I would like to express tragedy already happened. So now, time come, you should look forward and develop determination and build new town, a new city, new home, even more happier new town. You can do. So they full of optimism and determination, going to build your community or your sort of city. That I want to tell you. So that's all.
Welcome back. We're now continuing with something a little different on City Life, a meeting with the Dalai Lama. And for those who lost loved ones in the earthquake, what words do you have for them?
Those people, those family who deeply religious-minded, then think of God. God as a father, the people as his son, his children. So naturally, remember God. But this tragedy, in human eye, very bad. But there may be some sort of reasons. So now, the submit to God and remember God. That's one thing. Then, if the family not much sort of faith or interest about religion, then should think more realistic way. As one Buddhist master, 8th century, he expressed, when you face some tragedy, then think about that tragedy. If that tragedy can overcome, then no need worry. Instead of worry, instead of sadness, you must make effort to overcome that problem. If that problem or tragedy, no way to overcome, then no use too much sadness, too much worry. Forget. Now look forward. More sadness bring more because of the uncomfortable. And worst thing, too much sadness may demoralize, may bring depression. Don't think that way. I think that loved one who already has perished away, passed away, if they some way to know the remaining family member, if the family member remain full of spirit and full of enthusiasm, build a new home, a new sort of life, then that person much happier. Due to that tragedy, if the remaining family member too much sad, too much sort of anxiety, fear, then that person may feel more concern. So, when my own teacher, one important teacher, when he passed away with some stroke, and immediate after his death, I feel some solid rock which I can lean away. Now that no longer there. So I feel very sad. But then I thought, if I remain sad, then the late teacher feel even sad. In spite of that sort of, because of the tragedy, his death. Still, I keep, as his student, keep my spirit, my enthusiasm to implement what he give me instruction or teaching, sincerely carry. Then my late sort of the teacher feel happy. So I sort of work that way. So then that tragedy brings me more energy, more enthusiasm. So I think those people who lost their dear love, I think that way. Those non-believer. Believer, of course, on top of that, think about God.
Welcome back to City Life and welcome to the program, Mark Thomas from the New Zealand Fire Service. It's good to have you here.
Thank you.
It was nice that you could step in at the last minute when we were running a little bit late with the Dalai Lama.
Yes, Dan does apologise for not being here, but I'm quite happy to be the pinch hitter for him today.
Well, thank you for coming in. Now tell me about the report that you have brought with you.
Since the February 22nd earthquake, I've been running a report once a week of a summary of the fire calls in the Christchurch city area. We're using this to see if we do have any changes that are earthquake related and what the fire call numbers are looking like week by week.
Okay, because you are the Fire Risk Management Officer, is that right?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. So what should we be looking out for?
Well, this week, one of the things we did have, while we had a very quiet week, we did have a situation where a freestanding fireplace caused a fire in the ceiling of a house, and the investigating officer believes that the fire was probably caused by earthquake damage in the flue, where the inner flue has actually moved, and over a period of time, the occupants had a number of fires in their fireplace. Timbers in the ceiling have dried out completely and got to the point where they have actually ignited from a fire late last week, and there was considerable damage in the house. We're just asking people, even now, if they haven't had their fireplaces checked, it is still time to do so before this happens. It's not going to happen to everybody, but sometimes the earthquake damage is so well hidden that people just don't realise that it is there. Yeah,
because especially if your chimney's still standing, you still need to have it checked out, I suppose.
Absolutely, and with the metal flues, there's no way of telling what has happened to the inner flue, and this is where we believe we're going to get some problems.
Okay, so tell me about the fire ban that's in place at the moment.
Well, a lot of people are aware that ECAN have relaxed the ban on open fires in houses for the winter. I get the impression some people think that that also is relaxing the full fire ban, which is in the whole of the Christchurch area for outside fires. And we are attending a number of fires in places where people are burning rubbish, people are having fires at parties, people are even sitting around small braziers. Unfortunately, we're obliged to put those out, and it's not something that's particularly nice for the people when we do arrive.
And do they pay for that call out?
No, they don't pay for it, but they do get the inconvenience and the embarrassment of a big red fire truck at their door.
Yeah, that's right. Now, Christchurch people are on alert after the earthquake, and I hear you've had quite a few false alarms.
Yes, we have had a number of false alarms, and while we are really happy that people are vigilant, one of the things we're seeing is some alarms coming in for some almost amusing situations. The last week we've had 2 reports of smells of gas. One turned out to be freshly laid bitumen, and in the other case it was out in the country a wee bit, and it turned out one of our firefighters from Harewood Fire Station recognised the smell as coming from cows, certainly not from any other gases.
Okay, but I mean, people, even though these are false alarms, we should still be on alert, shouldn't we?
Oh, absolutely, and we are pleased that Christchurch people are vigilant with fire, and they do tend to call us. We don't want people to stop calling. All I'm suggesting is that people are a little bit, make a little bit more effort, perhaps some, to identify exactly what it is that they are reporting.
Because if it smells like cow, maybe it's a cow, right?
If it smells like cow, it may be a cow, indeed.
Now, coming into the winter months, what are some of the household items that we should be sort of looking at the moment?
Well, the biggest thing at the moment is probably electric blankets. It's been relatively mild so far. People are starting to use the electric blankets. We recommend strongly that you get your electric blanket checked out by a registered electrician, and there are some firms in Christchurch that do this every year. I think they charge about $14. It's very cheap insurance. The electric blankets themselves are designed to have resistance and to get hot. And if you're lying on top of an electric blanket for a particularly long time, sometimes the blanket can get excessively hot. I think every one of us has woken up at 3 o'clock in the morning sweating because we've left the blanket on.
Yes.
Great recommendation. Please do not go to bed with the blanket on. Use it to warm the bed, and turn it off when you do go to bed.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Now, finally, Dan and I have been talking about the home escape plans on the fire.org.nz website. So it's a good thing to do for people to go online and work out their fire escape plan when it comes to exiting the home.
Absolutely. The fire escape plans are an important part. A lot of people believe that smoke alarm alone is all that they need. Just sitting down with the family and devising a fire escape plan allows each one of us to be fairly sure that everybody in our house will be able to get out. They all know alternative ways out. They recognise the sound of smoke alarms. They know that they should be advising others in the house that there is a problem. And they have a place to meet outside before ringing 111 from a safe place.
Okay. Mark, really good to have you on the program. It'll be good to catch up with you in a couple of weeks. Maybe we could have a turnabout with you and Dan.
You just never know. Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming on the program. We'll be back after this break. Welcome back to City Life and welcome to Heather from Rolleston Vets. Good to have you here.
Hi, thank you.
Nick's not here today.
No, he's away for the week. So
Oh, okay, I thought he might be out visiting the Dalai Lama. So what are we chatting about today?
we're just talking about parasites in dogs and cats. They're sort of a real common problem and everyone wants to obviously control them. But there's a lot of misinformation out there, so we thought we'd try and clarify a few important bits, really.
Okay, so how do we know if our cat or dog has a parasite?
Well, the most obvious parasites are obviously the external ones, so things like fleas and ticks and that sort of thing, things that you can see. The more difficult ones are the internal ones, the worms and things. People know to check for them when the dog or cat goes to the toilet, but you don't always see evidence of them even when they've got them. So that can be a bit more of a difficult issue for people to know when to worm and how often to worm and that sort of thing. With fleas and that sort of thing, the most difficult issues are often that cats particularly won't often show signs of having fleas even when they've got them. So people expect them to be itchy, but they're not always. So people assume that they don't have them when they in fact they do. So it's always worth having a flea control programme in place so that you are controlling for them, especially if you've got an animal that's going out and meeting a lot of other animals. It's really easy for them to contract them. And there are lots of good products available to control them. Mostly the ones that go on the back of the neck, the spot-on products, like Frontline and Advantage, which are sort of done every 4 to 6 weeks and provide a really good flea control program, so that any fleas that do come in contact with your animal won't last long enough to breed.
So is it better for us to sort of pick up that they might have sort of a parasite first before they do have them? Or
yeah, I mean it's better to have a control program in place, just so that you know that they're not going to have a parasite burden for long, because obviously that's important for the health of your pet, but also from a worming point of view, it's important for the health of your family and particularly children, because worms can be a danger to human health. There's a major difference between flea and worm treatments, which a lot of people don't realise, I think it's not widely known, is that a flea treatment has a residual period. So when you apply a spot-on like Frontline, it will work for 6 weeks. So any fleas that are jumping on in those 6 weeks will actually be killed by the product. Whereas a worming treatment doesn't have a residual activity. So when you give a wormer, what you're doing is actually killing the worms that they've already got. But the next day they can actually go out and reinfect. So they can actually go out and eat something containing worm eggs again, but it takes a while for those worms to mature. So a flea control strategy, usually what you're doing is using a product at 4-week or 6-week intervals, whereas a worm control strategy depends upon the lifestyle of your pet and also on your own lifestyle as to how often you need to use a worming product, so how often they're coming into contact with worm eggs and things. So, for example, say a cat that's going out every day hunting, eating birds and mice and that sort of thing, that will need worming every month. Whereas a dog that's inside all day doesn't really, goes out for the odd walk but isn't a sort of a scavenger or a working dog, and there's no children in the household, that would be fine with worming every 3 months. So it's sort of important for people to know that, otherwise they are at risk from their dog passing worms, and obviously children particularly tend to be less hygienic let's say, and so more at risk from actually picking up worms themselves, which can
really?
cause... Yeah.
Wow. With things like ticks and mites, what are some of the signs that we can look for?
Ticks, you actually often see the tick itself. So they look like a very small, almost like a wart on the animal. It's only particular times of year, the sort of springtime, mostly when they're coming out and they're more active. And it's obviously more in rural areas as well, where you've got sheep and things like that. The animal often will itch at the site, and you'll often find a little lump, which then if you take them to the vet, then you can remove them. It's quite important not to try and pull them off yourself, because you can leave part of the tick behind, which is not so good long term. Mites-wise, mites are actually tiny beasts that live within the skin itself, so you can't actually see them with the naked eye, or in most cases. So the main signs of them are overall skin changes. You know, an animal that's suddenly losing hair, it's gone scaly, it's itchy, any kind of change like that, and that could be parasites, it could be mites.
Okay.
So it's worth, again, getting the pet to the vet, and then you can take samples and determine whether it is mites and treat it accordingly. So.
Okay. So externally, we by treating them, it's looking after their outer sort of stop them from itching. But
Absolutely.
inside, when they have worms, what if we don't treat them?
Why treat them? For the animal's health, it's really important, because worms, obviously, and over a long period of time, having a heavy worm burden means that they're basically eating the animal's food for it. So the animal's not getting the nutrition it should get, especially in puppies and kittens. That's a major, major problem. Some worms actually are bloodsuckers, so will actually cause an anemia, quite severe anemia in some animals. And also from the point of view of sort of human health, when particular worm eggs, round worm eggs particularly, are picked up by children, the larvae can cause lesions in the eyes and also in the brain and in the organs, and can cause really severe, really dangerous health problems long term, which can be very difficult to diagnose and to cure, even in a human. So, and it's all as simple as a worming tablet to control it. So, it's definitely a really important issue.
So how often should we worm our cats and dogs?
At least every 3 months, but for a lot of animals that are more active and that are going out hunting, scavenging, that sort of thing, it's every month, to be honest, to stop worm breakthrough. Right. And always use a good broad spectrum, really good quality wormer. Unfortunately, some of the products from the supermarkets don't cover all worms. They only cover certain worms, and if your animal has the other ones, then they don't do any good. So it's definitely worth being careful of that.
All right.
A lot of animals, a lot of people find it very difficult to worm their cats in particular. That seems to be a real common thing that we hear, is that people say, I can't get a tablet down the cat, which is totally understandable, because some cats are very resistant to the idea of a tablet. So there is a spot-on wormer now that's a really good broad-spectrum wormer, and you just pop it on the back of their neck. So it's much, much easier. It saves your fingers, it saves your cat a whole lot of stress, and it saves your family from worms. So it's definitely a good idea.
All right, Heather, well, thank you for coming on the programme. We'll certainly take that into mind.
Sure.
The Rise Up Christchurch Telethon, this book built up quite a following, and this is the man behind it. Welcome, Bruce, to the programme.
Thank you.
You know you're from Christchurch when. Now tell me, what was it with this book that made you write it?
Well, it was just a sort of a need to try and cheer people up, and I started the Facebook page, and I thought, well, I'll give it a go, and either people won't like it or they will, and well, obviously it's sort of gone viral. So.
Yeah, it certainly has. Now, I'm just going to read a couple of them out. The main sports stadium is sponsored by an insurance company and the turf isn't insured. It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Where did you pick up all these things?
Off the Facebook page, has been the members have basically submitted their sort of little quirky comments, and then we've obviously compiled it into the book. So. And
Meals on Wheels is delivered by Chopper?
Yeah.
Have people just been inundating you with comments about, you know, we can really feel that, you know, you've been through this kind of thing as well, because you've got to get some sort of humour out of it? Yeah,
well, that's it. I mean, if you don't, you sort of go crazy forever, really, you know. And it was quite, you know, it's quite a common or natural thing for people to look for humour. And the page is showing people that it's okay. There's a lot of them doing it. You know, it's not just one person sort of thing. So it shows that it's acceptable.
Yeah. exactly.
Yeah.
Now, you're Timaru based.
Yes.
And, you wrote this book about Christchurch, but Timaru has been feeling the earthquakes as well, and feeling the impact of it.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realise sort of how far south or probably even inland it's gone. We've got quite a bit of damage done to our house. We're just rural, just out of Timaru.
Right.
Had the EQC out and had to deal with that, let's just say. Also, we've had a couple of buildings that have had to be knocked down in Timaru recently after February as well. So it's quite sort of widespread, but obviously Christchurch, Canterbury itself has been the major part of it. And this,
Well, you are part of Canterbury as well,
well,
of course.
yeah.
Not North Otago,
Well,
okay?
southern.
Yeah, that's right. Now, did you expect it to become so well known? I mean, at the Rise Up Christchurch Telethon, it was the book on the table held by, all the celebs and all the presenters. Did you expect it to become so well known?
No, I mean, obviously it's being compiled as a fundraiser for Christchurch. With quite a big publisher, so we expect it would sort of go somewhere, but to be a top seller in New Zealand is pretty
So is it a top seller in
It
New
is,
Zealand?
yeah, it's the top seller in New Zealand
At the moment?
at the moment.
Wow.
Yeah,
Are you a writer yourself?
No, I'm a spell checker.
Is that right?
Yeah, I don't write. Well, I mean, I do a lot of Facebook if that's writing, but yeah obviously.
Me too.
Yeah,
so what was the process behind it? Did you go to the publishers and say, I've got this idea of a book?
No, actually I was approached by a lady called Kim Dovey here in Christchurch, who's a book designer. Yeah. And she came to me and says, look, I think we can make a book out of this. I mean, there were suggestions on the page it should be made into a book, but Kim's really the one that's taken the step and made this initially possible. Was she's taken the risk on it. She's approached the publisher, put it together and approached the publisher, and they've snapped it up pretty quick and thought, this is great. So
that's cool. Now, the money is going to a charity?
Yeah, the Merrill Fund, yeah.
That's great. And do you know how much you've raised from the books?
No, not yet. It basically, I think it's just for the publisher will work it out once they've figured out how much more they need to print, because the initial print's gone. It's sold out.
We were just talking about that before. We're trying to find the book. We can't find it.
Yeah, it's sort of one of those things. Really, it's a bit hard. Really, it's good for it to be selling, but to be sold out at the same time makes it a bit awkward.
Yeah.
So they're doing a second print run, and basically once they'll get to a date where they'll figure it all out and let everybody know. So.
Okay, so you're still on Facebook, you're from Christchurch when? Yeah. And so lots of people are still putting quotes and things like that on there?
Yeah, there's there's sort of the thoughts or the rumour of a volume 2, so we'll just see how that goes, and because this was done very early on, so since then there's a lot more content that's sort of popped up. So. And
what's the feedback been?
Fantastic. Absolutely, basically 99.9% positive.
Really?
In fact, don't think I'll give you a negative example, really. So
that's good.
So, and that's Facebook and, the book signings as well, and the feedback from bookstores. And
tell me about the book signings.
Yeah, very strange. Very strange, because, it's I'm the face of the book sort of thing, if you like, but it's not all me either. There's some members that have put into this as well, so it's quite strange to be at a book signing and first experience it as well is quite, it's a bit like being on stage for the first time, It's
pretty
quite
scary stuff.
A little bit.
Well, Bruce, really good to see you. Really good to have you on the program. So nice to meet the man behind. You're from Christchurch.
Great, thank you.
Now I'd like to welcome Rachel Vogan. Now the word on the street is that it's fruit tree planting season.
It is. Basically, as all the trees lose their leaves, it's a good time to plant fruit trees now. So as the weather gets colder, all the trees like apples, apricots, cherries, plums, they all lose their leaves. They go into dormancy, so they basically hide under the ground and sort of snuggle down for the winter, and it's the best time to plant them because they don't have any leaves on to sort of get damaged. So over the next few months, garden centres will be jam-packed full of all those deciduous fruit trees. So you could be able to, next season, maybe Kanita, you'll be able to plant an apricot or two and make some jam.
Do you think I'll actually have fruit by next season?
If you planted one this season, you'd probably get one or two, maybe a dozen fruits off the first year.
Oh, I'd be able to make loads of jam.
You might be able to make one or two jars.
Okay.
And I could top you up if you're a bit short.
Kind. I'm going to come and rummage through your orchard.
Yeah, do.
Really?
Do. We love the orchard.
Okay, and you've brought a book along.
I have.
Tell me about this.
This is the new Tui New Zealand Fruit Garden, and that book is just jam-packed with all the information you need to know about growing growing fruit trees. And it's been revised. It was launched about a few months ago, and there were a few technical things in there that weren't quite right.
Right.
So I was brought on board to go through it and verify the information correct, what wasn't quite right. So it's just come out now. It is jam-packed full of information. So everything you literally need to know, from when to prune your apple trees through to how to make sure you get fruit from your grapevine, is all in there.
Okay, yeah, I did notice your name in there. So I'll pass this to you and you can tell us what's specifically in there. Some of your favourites.
Oh, some of my favourites. Well, this is a good one. Chili and guava. People often think these are cranberries. It's actually known as the New Zealand cranberry.
Oh.
But it's actually technically the chili and guava. Now, these are so hardy, and you can make them into topiaries and shape them up into pretty shapes. And here we've got them in a little sort of cone shape. And through the autumn, they have these delicious red cranberry-looking berries. They're just magnificent. Really good section on citrus, because in Christchurch we can grow a lot of citrus. Oh, look, there's a mandarin. And we can grow mandarins and things, but we have an issue in areas where it's really frosty, so you can only grow the hardy lemons, and it mentions which the hardy lemons are in here. So it gives you lots of advice. Doesn't matter where you live, whether you're in Christchurch or Taupo, it's all relevant and real. And it's a great one for the bookshelf. And with its plastic cover, it means you can take it outside and you can have it there while you're doing your pruning lying on the ground, and it doesn't get damaged. So,
Was it your initiative?
Not the plastic cover, no, but it's certainly great for someone like me. I leave my trowels and forks and pruners out in the garden all the time, so being brightly coloured, I haven't been able to lose it yet.
Oh my gosh, you need to look after your tools.
Well,
Tools
I
is trade.
do need to look after my tools, and it's been a problem. It's been a vice I've had for many years, is just leaving things where I use them and tripping over them later.
One day you'll learn.
One day.
What else is it a good time to do in the garden?
Two things at this time of year. You either put up the close sign and basically cover everything in pea straw and walk away, or you can get into planting roses, fruit trees. You can put some winter vegetables in. You could put in things like celery, which is a quick growing crop for soups and things, silver beet, spinach, grow your own salad leaves. Good time to plant broccoli, cabbage and cauliflower. And all those hardy herbs like coriander and parsley, you can still put those in now too.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Now, I have a question myself. Pot plants.
Yes.
Inside, indoor pot plants. Either the soil on top, just under the pot plant, is hard or it's mossy.
Okay. If it's mossy, it means that with your watering, too much the soil can't get rid of all its water, so moss is forming on top because the soil has very poor aeration.
Okay.
And that probably sounds a little bit technical. If your plant sat in water for any period of time and it can't drain away, that will cause the moss. So saucers, although they're wonderful at saving the mess of when you water, they should never be left full of water because the roots can actually drown, and the pot plants never really thrive if they're sitting in water all the time.
Okay. I must say my peace lily's looking good at the moment.
Is it?
3 flowers, 3 lilies.
They're just magnificent. They're so hardy. Yeah. Great for the bathroom because they love the moisture of the shower and things like that. So a good option to brighten up the bathroom, along with cyclamen. They like it in there too.
Now, I hear that you've got a bit more time in your hands at the moment.
Dangerously available is
Dangerously
available is what I would say.
What's
yes.
happening?
After 5 years of being at the Christchurch Star as the gardening editor, I was writing today to say, sorry, we're cutting costs.
Yeah, okay.
That's it.
So you've got a lot of time on your hands?
Dangerously available.
Okay.
So if anyone needs green fingers...
Yeah. You're the lady?
I am the lady.
Oh, I really want to help you out. Now, actually, why don't you come back on our program in a couple of weeks' time?
Yes.
And people can email me some questions.
Yeah, love to help. Love to help.
All right? I'm just offering your help.
I'm dangerously available. Dangerously available.
All right, so that's kaneta@ctv.co.nz to get those questions to me for Rachel Vogan. Always good to see you.
Great to see you.
I'll see you next week or the week after.
Yes, definitely.
Program acting editor of the Mainland Press, Chris McCann. Good to see you back here again.
Nice to be back, thank you, Kaneta.
Now let's have a look at the front page of the Mainland Press this week.
Well, this week we have a story about the old Heathcote Hotel, which was demolished as a result of the September earthquake, and it is rising again. It's being under construction as we speak. It hopes to be one of the first hotels up and running, one of the first buildings replaced since the earthquake. Lincoln Hotel as well is well underway to be fixed as well.
Great, so that's the main page. That story's on page...
That story's on page 3. That's
Cool.
our front page story. Page 2, Plains FM are back in their home. They went through an agonising time for a while. They're back at their home, broadcasting from the Polytech.
Good. Where were they broadcasting from?
They weren't broadcasting.
Oh, weren't they?
They've started broadcasting again.
Okay.
Back from where they were.
Great.
Up and running again. So that's good news for a lot of people. They're very... It's important that they're back and running because of the community issues which they cover. So they're just very local, so it's great that they're back on air.
Okay.
And another very interesting story on page 3 is Magnetic South. That's an earthquake discussion forum. It's online.
Yeah.
It's next Tuesday and Wednesday. It's in the form of a game. It's you can register from all over the world and offer ideas on rebuilding Christchurch. The idea is you put yourself in the future and ask questions on how an ideal Christchurch, and you ask questions on how you got there. It's being promoted and managed by Landcare Research with the help of some very clever people in California. And yes, they're inviting people to register and
We had
play the
Dr.
game.
Bob Frame on the program last week. So you go to magneticsouth.com.
It's Magnetic South. It's magneticsouth.com. Yes.
And register for that.
And register for that.
All right, let's go further into the paper.
We have a story on a shortage of trainees, job trainees. The organisations, the ITOs, which train industry people, are concerned that there's not a lot of people applying for jobs in the construction industry in Christchurch, in the rebuilding industry. They've made a comment that they'd like more people to come forward, given there's going to be a lot of jobs coming up soon.
Indeed.
About September, they think there'll be a real demand.
Yeah, we had Anthony Lees from Lees Construction in maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago saying the same thing.
Yes.
So, that's great.
Yeah.
Now, page 7, let's move right along. Page 7, what's this one with an interesting picture?
Internet scams. We've interviewed a man who's an expert on internet fraud and scams and viruses, and he's given us some tips on how to get rid of virus scammers, people who ring up and ask you to turn your computer on. And he blows a whistle in their ear.
Can we... Oh, does he?
And he's given us some advice on these scammers. They are increasing. And they ask people to go to their computers and
How
turn them
interesting.
on. He said they're from India. Most people think it's just because of an unusual accent, but he said he actually speaks a bit of Hindi, and he's spoken to them in that language, and they have responded. So he's
really?
quite convinced that they are ringing from India.
Okay. All right, what else is there?
Well, we've got an interesting sports... We covered the Lincoln... the
SBS Marathon.
Christchurch Marathon,
Yeah.
yes. The SBS
And you
Christchurch
ran in that, of
Marathon.
course?
I ran in that, of course.
Yeah.
No, I did not.
And what was the time?
I didn't have a time because I wasn't here. We've got some nice photos of the marathon. There was people running in chicken suits and running with dogs. So nice pictures of the search and rescue dogs which ran in the race.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so that
How
was
far did they run?
Nice picture. They ran in sections.
Okay.
They ran. I think it may have been up to 10 kilometres each.
Oh, wow.
Yes, Lincoln handled it very well.
Okay.
The marathon, of course, wasn't held in Christchurch because of the earthquake, and Lincoln handled it very well. A few wee teething problems at the start, but they did remarkably well.
All right, and finally,
Great
we've
day.
got a new columnist in the Mainland Press.
Pete Smith, who viewers of CTV will know, has got his column from the sideline. And this week he makes a really good comments on the sports clubs around Christchurch. So many of them have been damaged, and for a long time Christchurch has had the luxury of lots of sports grounds, and he's saying it can't happen. It can't go on forever. Since the earthquake, there's going to have to be a lot of amalgamations, and he's thinking, should we have a Minister of Common Sense? He says, because clubs are likely to be reluctant to amalgamate, but it's probably a common sense approach.
Okay, well, it's good to see Pete Smith in the paper, not only in the Mainland Press, but also on CTV with Pete Smith hosts. Chris McCann, really good to have you back on the program, and for editor Chris Tobin, so it's good to have you here. Now, that is City Life for today. Just so you know, we do now have CTV City Life On Demand. You can go to ctv.co.nz and click On Demand to see all the episodes. We're now on Facebook, facebook.com/CTV City Life. And you can email me, kaneta@ctv.co.nz, call me 3777 033 or write to me, PO Box 1100 Christchurch. Thanks for watching and I'll see you tomorrow.